crops sort of a society is when beer popped up. Beer popped up, we think, kind of by accident, but this is generally how most people believe it to have happened. They were storing their excess grains outside in big clay pots. The grains that they're using to make things in their kitchens, they were storing them outdoors. But one day they left the lid askew on one of those clay pots, and it rained that night. They came back a few days later, and they found a big wet mess at the bottom of their clay pot. And like any sane individual, they grabbed a glass and started drinking said wet mess. It's the most efficient way to clean any mess. I don't know if you knew that. But they didn't get sick, they got loopy. They felt closer to God. They thought, this is awesome. So the next logical step is to throw the lids away. Thanks for laughing. I love that joke. They didn't throw the lids away. They kept the lids, but they started making beer on purpose. People liked it, so they started making beer. Beer was so popular, in fact, people were actually willing to work for beer instead of money. They were willing to take that money that they would have been paid to buy beer. They would have been just like, I'll use that money anyway to buy beer, so let's skip a step. You just give me the beer quick. I don't want anybody behind me. It really freaks me out. All right, so the process of paying your workers in beer continued for thousands of years. One of the prime examples of that happening in history was the slaves built the pyramids of Egypt. They were given a daily ration of beer, like a very large daily ration of beer, a lot of beer per person. You do get what you pay for. When you pay your workers in alcohol, you're going to get crooked buildings, everybody. And yes, that is the best pyramid joke you will hear today. That process continued for a few thousand more years. We're going to fast forward to the year 1516. It is around that time when the Duke of Bavaria started to hear a lot of complaining. The people of Bavaria were getting paid in beer, as was the custom, but the people in charge, people making that beer, were trying to make it as cheaply as possible. So they're adding ingredients that were just sort of lying around, things that they could find easily, but not necessarily things that were good for you or in beer. They were adding things like grass and dirt and soot and hay. They went so far as to add animal feces to the beer, everybody. You can get real sick when you drink animal shit. Not a quality ingredient. So if you've ever had a shitty beer, anybody here, it could have been way worse, is what I'm trying to tell you. Back in the day, they were actually using shit to make the beer. The people didn't like that, obviously, so they started complaining very loudly until the Duke of Bavaria heard their cries and passed one of the first ever consumer protection laws. It was called the Reinheitsgebot, which is a fancy way of saying the German purity law, and it only said you could put 3 things in your beer. That was it. It was a pretty simple law. The only 3 ingredients you were allowed to put in your beer from that point forward were water, barley, and hops. Now, if you are a home brewer or anybody